All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? Hour one, John and Jim, we are back at Fairplay here in North Park. Getting you ready for more Padres baseball, another must-win series for the Padres, but they've been losing the series they need to win.
Yeah.
We'll be with you for the next 3 hours, John and Jim from Fairplay. We love it here, Jim. We come here every single Friday afternoon when the Padres are on the road. We've both already eaten. I want to say did you have a burger today? Did you have a fish sandwich? What'd you have today?
No. I had a burger.
Oh, you have you finished it?
No.
Okay.
I have not finished yet. I'm a slow eater, John.
Okay.
I'm a very slow eater. But yeah, cheeseburger, fries, Coke, the normal.
Okay.
Pretty much the normal.
And I had the normal too, which was the salmon salad.
Always. You always get the salad, or you always
they
get
got
the
the tofu sandwich. They got a lot of really good
Yeah.
food here. They really do. I love this location. Right in the middle of North Park, centrally located, great food and drinks. They got televisions. Every single thing you could possibly want is here at Fairplay in North Park. Come here to kick off your weekend. Again, Padres and Diamondbacks are coming up later on today at 6:40. Today on the show, by the way, Jim, Paul Garrison, East Village Times. He will join us at 4 p.m. You just mentioned in your update, San Diego State will have a scrimmage tomorrow at Snapdragon Stadium at 6 p.m. We're going to broadcast live tomorrow from outside Snapdragon Stadium to get you ready. We'll be on the air from 4 to 6. And Kevin Acee, our Padres insider, will join us coming up today at 5 p.m. So let's start, of course, with the Padres, who find themselves in a situation where it's like something has to give tonight, right? Arizona has been the worst team in baseball. You think it's been hard to watch the Padres over the last, season?
Yeah.
At 55-60. Arizona comes in having lost 8 consecutive games. Padres come in having lost 4 consecutive games. It's cliche, but it's true. Something has to give. One of these two teams is going to win this series. I don't think you can lose the series and have any hope from here on out. So, it might be cliche as well, but it probably is a must-win series for the Padres.
It's you have to win this series, especially after everything that's happened with this team yesterday, with the meeting, the closed-door meeting, the comments by Juan Soto saying that they gave up and they quit. If you come out and you lose this series, I'm sorry, but no fan, and us as well, is going to take this team seriously at all, because you have now put yourself in a situation where, yes, talk is cheap until you perform. And with what was said yesterday, the meeting by the team that was led by Manny, you better come out and win the series. You better. And honestly, John, I think this is like a series, like if you don't sweep them, then it's still going to be viewed as like, okay. I mean, winning the series is fine, but you're not in a situation where winning like series against really bad teams, just 2 out of 3, is deemed good enough because of where you're at in the standings.
Interesting point. 70470 started with team. Is that good enough this weekend? Well, it's like you got to take baby steps, though.
I know.
70470 started with team. If you want to chime in, is it good enough to win 2 out of 3 against the Diamondbacks? This team just hasn't beaten anyone. I mean, they're in the midst of their first 3+ game losing streak since the All-Star break.
Yep.
They're about a 500 team since the All-Star break. If you told me right now, we talk about signing up for something. Didn't we sign up for a split against the Dodgers about a week ago?
Oh, I signed up in like 3 seconds.
Because it could have been worse. I think I'd sign up right now for 2 out of 3 against the Diamondbacks, even though they've lost Arizona 8 consecutive games, because the alternative is way worse. You lose this series, and everyone turns their attention to the NFL, college football in 2024. You win this series, and we can continue down the path of it's not going to be easy, but at least it's possible. So that's why I think I would take 2 out of 3, considering the way they're playing, having lost 4 straight coming in, and not having Joe Musgrove.
I agree with you. It's just, it's hard for me after the comments that were made yesterday to just view a series win 2 out of 3 against the Diamondbacks good enough, just because of where they're at.
Right.
You lose 2 of 3, guess what? You're still in 4th place. Now, the 4th place thing doesn't matter. I understand that. It's about where they are in the wild card race. Mm-hmm. But you need to start making some headway here. Like right now, I put on Twitter yesterday. They need to go, like realistically, we both think 87 wins is probably the number that would get you like
they
like
should be an 87.
Like the safe number, right? Anything below that, you're kind of risking it.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, well, you need to go 32-15 the rest of the way. 32-15.
That's easy.
Okay, yeah, it's totally easy. Can they do that? I don't know, because they haven't shown it.
But right now, it's like I can't worry about 32-15 when they've lost 4 straight. I just got to worry about winning a series. And I'm with you. This is, if there's ever a series to sweep, maybe you've already mentioned it today. Maybe we mentioned it yesterday. To your point, they have not swept anyone on the road all year.
Nobody.
Now, this is an Arizona team.
3-game series.
Right. Even a 2-game series, right?
Well, I guess do you consider the Giants series on the road?
No, because they're a home team, even though it was in Mexico.
Okay.
So, no.
No, they haven't.
But, I mean, Arizona is 1-9 in their last 10. They've lost 8 straight. They've done nothing since the trade deadline. I don't know if they've given up, but they're done. They're not making the postseason. There's no scenario where they do. So if you're ever going to sweep someone, maybe this is the series to do it. But what do you think Arizona's saying in their clubhouse? The exact same thing. They're saying, as bad as we've been, we're only a couple of games out. Let's go take advantage of a San Diego team that clearly doesn't want to be here. How do we know that? Because listen to their leaders like Juan Soto say publicly that we've essentially quitted. Is that the right word?
Quitted?
No, quit.
There we go. Quitted?
I sound like you, man. I don't know what's wrong with me.
I thought you said Quidditch, like a Harry Potter thing.
Like quitted on the season. You can say quitted.
They quitted on the season.
Yeah. No, they quit on the season. I don't know what's wrong with me right now. But I got to think Arizona's saying the same thing, which is like, if it's a must-win series for the Padres, what's it for us? It's the same thing.
I know. They're in desperate times, too. They lost 8 in a row. They, I think, are still, like, considered to be in it, even though they've lost as much as they have, and they're under 500.
If the Padres are in it, then the D-backs better darn be in it because they're 2 games better.
And, they made trades at the deadline to go for it, essentially, with trading for Tommy Pham and a reliever.
Yeah, that's worked out really well.
But, hey, Tommy Pham loves to play against the Padres. We know that. It just, again, like I said yesterday, they gave me a reason to not have hope until they show it to me.
Because they quitted?
Because they quitted. Because of the quotes that were said. Because of factual things that were said by this team that if I'm a fan, I'm like, dude, why should I invest myself if you're telling me that you guys are just giving up on series? Like, that's not a good feeling as a fan.
Yeah, but it's like, okay, you've been in a relationship before, right? I mean, you have, because I'm officiating your wedding.
I've been in a couple, yeah.
So you've been in a relationship before. Sometimes you're like, well, why should I be in it if you're not in it? But sometimes you want it to work out, even if the other person isn't in it. Like, we're vested. San Diegans aren't turning their attention to the San Diego Chargers. They don't exist.
Who?
This isn't New York City where the Mets sell and you can go watch the New York Giants or the New York Knicks. Not that these franchises are actually good right now, but you get my point. In San Francisco, you can turn your attention. Philadelphia, New York. Here, it's like, no, there's nowhere to turn. We're going to be here until the bitter end.
I'm not leaving.
Until they're officially eliminated, they haven't been eliminated. It doesn't mean it makes it more realistic. But I'm with you. Even if the team has quit, I don't think the fan base is going to quit on the team. Even if they've quitted, I don't think the fan base is going to quit on the team because they've sold out 26 consecutive games. The next homestand against Baltimore, and it's going to be the same thing. There's going to be 40,000 plus people at Petco Park, which is a credit to the fan base, and we just can't get away from this team.
And by no means am I saying that, hey, fans shouldn't go to the ballpark and you shouldn't watch the games and you shouldn't listen to that. Like, by no means am I saying that at all. I think that it's just when you watch this team play, that hope that fans have, I'm telling you, just don't get your hopes up because they very well could quit again on this season. They could pull another series like they did against the Mariners where they seemingly, are playing good baseball and all of a sudden, they end up losing the series and look lifeless because they have that in them. They've done that more this season than they've actually gone on winning streaks or played a consistently good brand of baseball.
I don't think anyone at this point believes that isn't possible, right? So you're saying be careful before you get fully back into the relationship. Like, hey, if they win 2 out of 3 this weekend, before you go there Monday against the Orioles, like, hey, they've turned this around, cautious optimism. Okay, They won a series against Arizona. Can they do it again? The one thing we can say about the Padres this year is they're wildly inconsistent.
Yeah.
Like, they've never had any level of consistency all season long, maybe a 5-1 stretch. The most confounding stat that we say over and over repeatedly is they are the only team in Major League Baseball that does not have a 4-game winning streak. It's an amazing thing to say on August 11th, and they're not going to have a 4-game winning streak at least for another 4 games.
I know.
So I don't. The one thing I'll say that I said yesterday, though, is I look at the wild card standings. I just pulled them up again, and they're 4.5 games out.
It doesn't really mean much to me unless they're actually going to play consistently good baseball, John.
You don't think they can just keep losing and make up ground?
That would be very hard to do. I'd be very impressed if they kept losing the way they have been and they actually keep like making up ground in the wild card race. That'd be very impressive for this team.
Let's just go through this exercise.
Okay.
Are the Padres at least in your mind as good as the Miami Marlins? Have the ability to be as good as the Marlins?
We know they have a better roster than all the teams in front of them.
That's what I was going to say.
But it's about, can the roster actually play consistent? You know, with everything that we've heard this season and all the bickering behind closed doors and the quotes about egos and the quotes about, you know, this guy and that guy potentially not getting along. And now Bob Melvin's, you know, future is like in doubt. And you're seeing quotes about, hey, we just give up on series. Like, that's cool. But again, the roster construction and the talent they have on the roster, right? That to me doesn't mean anything until they start playing as a team.
Okay, I'm going to say something that's going to make you want to like pour water on my computer like you did last time we were at Fairplay.
I don't have water, but I do have some ice.
Yes.
Here.
Okay, you're going to literally want to throw something in my face when I say it.
I know what you're saying.
What am I going to say?
Differential.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
I know.
Among the teams vying for an NL wildcard berth, the Padres' run differential is second best to the Chicago Cubs. At plus 56, it's better than the Phillies, who are now 8.5 games better than the Padres. It's better than the Giants, who are now 7 games better than the Padres. So when we talk about poor roster construction and their inability to win close games, he's going to punch me when I say this.
Dude.
Is it just bad luck?
Stop it.
David J is here for Mad Friars. It's a serious question. If you played this season over again, you're not going 0-10 in extra innings. You're not losing every one-run game the way they've lost.
Who knows?
They be better? Would they be better than 55 and 60 if we just ran it through a random generator again and again and again?
Who knows? I don't know. Do you still have all the issues potentially in the clubhouse, and do you have all that? And do you not have Gary Sanchez for half the year?
I don't know. I haven't thought that much about it. And I'm gonna respond to myself by saying, who cares? They're still 55 and 60.
Right. I don't want to deal in hypotheticals.
I know.
Hypotheticals are great, but they are hypotheticals for a reason.
Do you know their expected win-loss per MLB.com?
Cool. What is it?
Any guesses? Plus 11, 63 and 52. 63 and 52, and they're 5 games under 500. You want to know why? They've been awful in close games. You can't go 0-10 in extra innings. It's like impossible to try. They could have fielded an A-ball team in those 10 games, and one of them they would have come out on top, you would think.
Okay, that's great. Run differential. This team's going to miss the postseason and have like the greatest run differential ever for a team that's going to miss out on the postseason.
Is that true?
I don't know,
I don't
but
think
it
so.
feels that way. It feels that way. It feels like they're going to have a run differential of like plus 80, and they'll win 82 games. Like that's crazy.
I know you're going to hate this. I'm just going down this path. You know their run differential is better than the team they're just swept by, who's 10 games over 500. Again, I'm with you. It means nothing. Here's the truth. This actually speaks.
This whole season.
No, but hear me out. This is why stats and
bad luck.
This is the problem with when Manny Machado says, "Hey, at the end of the season, look at the back of my baseball card. The numbers are going to be there." That doesn't really mean anything at the end of the day. What do you do in a tie game in the 8th inning with first and third one out? That's what matters. What do you do bases loaded, nobody out in the top of the 10th inning in a must-win game when you don't score?
They ground out. Or
right, exactly.
They strike out. Or
it's more the clutch hitting than anything else I could say about their statistics this year.
All right, John. I want to read you. I want to read you a quote.
Please.
Okay, and I want you to guess when this quote is from. All right.
Okay.
We're going through it right now, and everyone sees it. We feel it for sure. But if you think this team is rolling over, you're sorely mistaken. When is the quote from?
Well, it could have been 2 nights ago in the clubhouse after they lost to Seattle.
Yeah.
It could have been when they lost home series to teams like the Pirates.
There's a lot of options to choose
from. Or the
from.
Nationals. It could have been when they lost home series to the Royals. I'm guessing because if you're saying guess what it's from, it's not going to be from 2 days ago. Is it from July? Is it from May?
No, you both are wrong. It is from June 29th after they got swept by the Pittsburgh Pirates.
At home. Oh, no,
on the
or
road.
was it in Pittsburgh? Okay,
On the
before they
road.
played Cincy. So that was 6 weeks ago.
Yep, they dropped to a season worst 7 games below 500. A lot of these quotes are pretty much the same kind of quotes as you have seen very recently from this team all this year. So why I am telling you this quote and from why I'm saying it's when it's from is because they've said the same thing over and over and over multiple times this season. So why should I think it's going to be different now? I want it to be different. Everybody wants it to be different. Everybody wants this team to finally shape up and turn it around. Everybody wants a closed door meeting to actually work. Everybody wants, getting called out by whoever to actually work. But it's happened multiple times this year, and it hasn't worked. So I continue to say, I hope, and that's not a good thing to bank a season on, is off of hope. I hope they turn it around, but to have any faith that they're going to do it, it's very low for me.
Isn't there a little bit of irony that if Juan Soto is to be taken literally, and he used the word literally,
like literally
when
gave
he
up.
says we've literally quit. Isn't there irony that the Padres have quit on themselves, yet the fan base can't quit on them? They're going to sell out 60 games. They're going to draw 3.2 million. I see a comment in the chat right now on YouTube, and thank you guys if you're with us on San Diego Sports 760, iHeartRadio app, YouTube, wherever you're listening or watching from today. We're at Fairplay. Come hang out with us. We're here until 6. Sum and Substance says, I've given up on the season, yet I can't stop watching this team. It's like if loving you is wrong, I don't want to be right type stuff. It's like you can't. It's a bit of a drug.
This person loves torture.
Yes, exactly. You're so far down the path with this team that why stop now?
Well, again, if you're a Padres fan, like you said, you're not watching these games because that's what you do. You watch your favorite teams play, regardless. Now, if they were like about to lose 100, if they're the Oakland A's, I can understand if you don't want to watch the team. I understand that. But
sure, yeah, of course.
But no matter what, especially with the instance that if they do turn it around, you want to be there for it.
Yeah,
you're going to continue to watch these games. So I totally get it. And I'm not saying that anybody needs to jump off any bandwagon or stop watching these games because they've said that they've given up. I'm just saying maybe keep your expectations tempered just so you don't get completely crushed.
And isn't there then, though, additional irony that Machado in April said, don't jump off the bandwagon, you're going to want to get back on when his teammates are jumping off the bandwagon?
Right.
I mean, Juan Soto is the one that said it. And listen, maybe it was in a moment of frustration. We've all been there. We're human beings. Yeah, I mean,
I get it.
And he has said some interesting things, by the way, in his time with the Padres. And he was been recently criticized, by the way, for celebrating home runs down 5 runs in the 9th.
Yeah.
So maybe he doesn't read the room perfectly. Maybe. I can't fully say that one way or another, but there is some irony in Manny Machado saying, don't jump off the bandwagon. There's not going to be room back on it. And then Juan Soto says, I'm jumping off. The guy who sits next to him in the clubhouse.
Yeah, the dynamic of everything in the clubhouse is a mystery that I don't know if it'll ever be solved or ever explained.
I would love a book on it. We said the same thing in 2021, but this is even more fascinating.
Because of the expectations for this season and who you have in that clubhouse. And we all kind of knew in 2021, like, what I mean, look, you knew as soon as this team went in the tank and you saw a lot of things that Jay Singler did as a manager, it was pretty easy to determine, all right, the core of the problem starts here and then it branches out.
Right.
This team, you're like, okay, is it this player or is it this player or is it this or is it that? And you don't really fully understand it or know what the reason is, but you know, like, something's there.
Right.
So, yeah.
All right, on the show today, Paul Garrison, East Village Times. We'll get us ready for some San Diego State football. It's 2 weeks away. The Aztecs will scrimmage at Snapdragon. It's a free Fan Fest event. Tickets are at goaztecs.com. Paul Garrison will join us at 4 p.m. Kevin Acee is our Padres insider. He's on the show at 5 o'clock. Between now and 4, we've got all kinds of ticket giveaways today. This hour, we're going to give away a pair of tickets to see Godsmack. That's at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater on August 27th. More info is available at Ticketmaster.com. Again, Godsmack tickets, we'll give those away coming up this hour. As we begin to unravel the facts on the obituary on the Pac-12 conference, we look back at an offer they turned down a year ago.
This is incredible.
What on earth was the Pac-12 thinking in October of 2022 that ultimately put it on its course, which it could never get back on course. Incredible, incredible facts we'll share with you on the other side. Plus, Orioles broadcaster Kevin Brown has broken his silence. We're at Fairplay in North Park until 6 p.m. Padres Diamondbacks at 6:40. Stay with us on John and Jim. All right, we're at Fairplay here in North Park until 6 o'clock. Great way to kick off your weekend would be with us here. Padres will begin a series in the desert against the Diamondbacks at 6:40. We're with you until 6 o'clock. We have giveaways for you every hour today. This hour, we'll give away Godsmack tickets. Next hour, Trainwreck Radio, Darius Rucker tickets. Remind me of that, Darius Rucker, next hour. 5 o'clock hour, Dierks Bentley tickets.
So we have basically all the tickets.
We got all the tickets in the world. So be listening, be watching, come hang out. We're going to be at Fairplay until 6 o'clock. Now, we have a couple of developing realignment stories.
It would not be the John and Jim.
Wants to hear.
I know. But it wouldn't be the John and Jim show without realignment talk.
How about this? Okay, so we're going to share the offer that the Pac-12 got from last fall that would have kept the league intact, that they remarkably not only turned down, they countered with an utterly ridiculous offer.
Oh, I can't wait to hear this because I know I know what it is.
It's amazing.
Oh, it's amazing.
But Pat 40 is reporting within the last 15 minutes, Jim, that Stanford and Cal's bid to join the ACC currently has fallen one vote short. They need 12 votes in the ACC. They have 11. Here's the block opposed. Florida State, Clemson, North Carolina, and NC State. 3 of those are heavy hitters.
Yeah, they
Florida State, Clemson, and North Carolina putting their foot down and saying, no.
Nah.
Florida State football is not playing at Cal's Memorial Stadium.
Right.
Florida State basketball is not playing at Stanford.
Yeah, North Carolina is not going to Cal.
Now, could that change? Maybe it could, but Pat 40, Sports Illustrated, reporting that. Then a statement's been issued here by the president of Oregon State saying she believes the best path forward for Oregon State and the other schools, or at least Oregon State, is by reconfiguring the Pac-12. That's not going to be easy.
No.
Down to 4, but if Stanford and Cal don't have admission into the ACC, would they consider trying again with Oregon State and Washington State? But okay,
give me the numbers.
Story. Here's the
I want to just
John
give me the numbers.
Canzano, who's been on with us a couple times as recently as maybe 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
He writes on his website at johncanzano.com. Pretty fascinating statement here. Brent talked about this yesterday. We've heard inklings of this for weeks, to be honest.
Yeah.
But he wrote this, that the Pac-12 in the fall of 2022 got an offer of $30 million per school from ESPN for all of their rights. $300 million for 10 schools, $30 million per school for all of their rights. Not only did they say no, they countered with a proposal of $50 million per school, or $500 million total dollars. ESPN's response, according to the source, was goodbye.
Yeah. Seriously, F off.
Now, fast forward a year from last fall to this summer. So let's say like 10 months. A year later, the Pac-12 nearly signed a deal with Apple TV for $25 million per school. They could have gotten $30 million per school from ESPN. And they nearly signed a deal for $25 million from Apple TV Plus. So my point is this: a complete and utter miscalculation.
You think? What a joke, dude. And that just shows you the poor leadership. And poor is a very kind word for George Klopp. What an idiot. What an idiot.
Well, I don't know. There were circumstances at play.
But you the miscalculation from that to where they are now is of like epic proportions. You could, how could you be so wrong about
not
something?
Read the room?
That exactly. Like that's the one thing that I always try to do is wherever I go, like in life, just, hey bro, read the room, read the room. And if you can't read the room, then you need to like recalculate yourself. And George can't read the room if his life depended on it.
Okay, a couple of things, because everything's about like context, and obviously this is like a case study in what to do poorly, right?
How do you kill a conference? Book for dummies.
Right. It's like from the richest TV deal in athletic history in 2011 to no conference 12 years later is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
But if you recall last fall when they got that offer from ESPN, this was like days after the Big Ten had just secured a $1 billion deal. So the Big Ten's getting $1 billion, and the Pac-12's looking around the room and saying, well, hold on. They're getting $1 billion. We're only getting $300 million. But here's the caveat. Well, yeah, they just got USC. They just took your key property.
Yeah.
So you weren't the Big Ten. You were more in line with a conference like the Big 12,
right,
or the ACC. And oh, by the way, after they said no to $30 million, guess what happened? The Big 12 a couple of weeks later had $31 million per school. it kind of boxed out the Pac-12.
Yeah, it just makes it even worse for the Pac-12 leadership, and it's sad. It's sad to see a point where they had an opportunity to save the conference. You signed that ESPN deal. You get $30 million a school.
You would, and then maybe expand.
And then maybe you expand.
Maybe ESPN had a deal; they would have given $30 million to each additional member.
And then, in however long this deal was going to last for, then you reevaluate and recalculate and strengthen your conference over the length of that deal to make sure that your next deal is what you really want. Now, inflation and money, it always goes up, right? So, $30 million in like 10 years wouldn't be the same. I get it, but you ended up not taking the deal, and that ended up destroying your conference. Like, what's better? Either taking the deal and keeping the conference, or not taking the deal and not having a conference?
Let me answer that.
Exactly.
The former. Now, I would say this based on like what I just said. Pat Forty, SI, reporting that Cal and Stanford, at least right now, are going to finish one vote shy of ACC expansion or invitation to the ACC. And then Oregon State's president puts out a letter saying, hey, we'd really like to pursue going at it again with this, the Pac-4. The more I think about it, Jim, and this could be dead wrong, and I get it. It's not the same league. I mean, a lot of it has changed.
John, it's not even a league anymore.
I would say I think those 4 schools got to try one more time to say, what can we make of it? Can we add the San Diego States and the SMUs and the Boise States and the Tulanes, and can we make this thing work? Can we all work to the betterment of these 4 institutions as opposed to just the betterment of ourselves and try to build something out of this that might be better than our alternatives?
Well, you do know that this is far from over. You can't just go status quo here and everything's going to be fine. You're going to have 4 schools in the conference. That's just not going to work. It's not. Like, there's going to have to be
Pac4.com. We're like, upcoming schedule: Cal versus Stanford, Oregon
6
State,
times.
Washington State.
Yeah, Oregon State, Washington State. They play 7 times this year.
Pac-4 tournament in Vegas, semifinals.
Right. Yeah,
Cal Stanford.
Hey, I mean, if you get an automatic invite to the college football playoff, right?
No, but I'm thinking about like the basketball tournament. Semifinals on this Saturday night.
Yeah, you lost, but you still won.
Dude,
somehow.
What about the Big Ten basketball tournament? If they get to like 20 teams, it's like bigger than the NCAA tournament.
It's going to be like the NCAA tournament.
10-day tournament or something.
Yeah. So
okay, so yeah. Anyway, it is a case study in really not reading the room,
not reading the room correctly, how to destroy a conference, how to have no communication, how to look PR nightmare. Like, hey, if you want to see what a PR disaster looks like 101, go back in the last year plus and look up everything that the Pac-12 leadership and George Klopp did to just look like a complete idiot.
And I always go back to the idea that it was never one moment. It was never even saying no to ESPN for a $30 million deal. It was all these other moves probably well in advance of that. They had an opportunity years ago. ESPN came to them and they would have bought the Pac-12 networks. They said no. Yeah. I mean, there were countless examples. They could have expanded previously when the Big 12 nearly exploded. They didn't, or imploded. So they had a number of times to dig themselves out of this spot and be better positioned. And now, unfortunately, you got schools in the Big 10, you got schools in the Big 12, you got 4 schools with nowhere to go. And what does it mean for college athletics in the West moving forward because of some of these missteps?
Do you want to promote it now? A little tease for next week?
Yeah, what do you got?
You told me about it last night.
I did. Yeah, we can tease it because between now and then, the world could change.
I know, but I think it's significant for realignment.
I think someone asked maybe in our YouTube chat, like, hey, can you get the Mountain West commissioner on the show, Gloria Navarez?
Yeah.
So I said, sure. I'll send her an email. So she's going to come on the show Tuesday at 4 o'clock.
Okay.
Gloria Navarez, Mountain West commissioner, will join John and Jim on Tuesday at 4 p.m. Speaking of 4 p.m., Paul Garrison, East Village Times, will join us to get us ready for San Diego State.
I messed that up. Sorry.
Yeah, you put 4:30 on Twitter. It's 4.
My bad. Sorry, Paul.
Paul Garrison's going to join us at 4 o'clock. We'll talk about San Diego State.
He's like,
football
wait,
2
what?
weeks away. Kevin Acee, our Padres insider, will join us at 5 p.m. Up next, we'll give away those tickets to see Godsmack at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater August 27th. More info at Ticketmaster.com. Also, Orioles broadcaster Kevin Brown back in the booth tonight and breaking his silence. What does he have to say about this whole, I don't even know, debacle? We'll share that with you coming up next. Stay with us on John and Jim. All right, we are at Fairplay until 6 o'clock. Padres, Diamondbacks, game one of a three-game series coming up at 6:40. This segment between now and 4 o'clock, Jim, we're giving away tickets to see Godsmack at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. It's August 27th. More info at Ticketmaster.com. Be listening. We'll let you know when to call for your chance to win those tickets. Paul Garrison, 4 p.m., Kevin Acee at 5 p.m. Kevin Brown was stuck between a rock and a hard place. He didn't ask for what happened. The Orioles take him off the air because he said they weren't very good in Tampa, which is just factually accurate. But they took him off the air for 2 weeks. It became a huge sports broadcasting story, right? I mean, massive story.
Yeah.
To the point where at Camden Yards, they were chanting "Free Kevin Brown" in the stands last week. So he issues a statement. Do you have the statement?
Do you want me? I'll read it.
I don't know if you need to read the whole thing. It's a long statement.
It is a long. I think
You want to read it?
Screw it. I don't want to read the whole thing because it just laminates kind of how
laminate for our listeners.
Unfortunate this situation is. All right. Kevin Brown today, at 11:34. O's fans, I'm a storyteller and never want to be part of the story. The most compelling story in baseball right now is the story of the league-leading Baltimore Orioles, the best, most exciting young team in the American League. Unfortunately, recent media reports have mischaracterized my relationship with my adopted hometown Orioles. The fact is that I have a wonderful relationship with the organization, and our ownership and front office has fully supported me since 2019 when I first came aboard. I ask that everybody disregard the distracting noise of the past few days. I have worked closely with O's SVP, Greg Bader, for the past 4 years, and John Angelos and I have a solid dialogue based on mutual respect. We are all good here in Birdland. I'm proud to be an Oriole and call Baltimore home, and there's no place in baseball I'd rather be now for the long haul. Go O's.
Go. So, okay.
That was like an apology. Like,
what's he apologizing for?
That's the question.
And, and did he write that? I mean,
I don't know.
I mean, obviously he wrote it, but like, were the Orioles in on that?
They had to have been because, but also look at this. What do you expect him to do? Do you expect him to not address it at all when he goes back on the air tonight?
No, I do. But I mean, there's a number of ways you could address it.
Or do you expect him to go on social media and just blast the organization for the frauds and losers they are?
But you know what? No, I don't. And again, it's weird for me because I literally have had like a friendship with him for like 16 years.
I know.
So, but I would say that, I mean, if I was in the same spot, I would literally have not slept for 2 weeks. You know, and I'd freak out on air tonight.
You would be
I'd be
a disaster, a train wreck. You would, yeah.
So I don't know how he's feeling about the whole situation. I feel like, I don't know if I would have put that on social media. I might have been like, I'll be back tonight.
You know what I would have done?
Tune in and I'll address it.
You know, I guess it's a meme, but it's not really a meme. Like the press release from Michael Jordan back in the day when he's like, I'm back. That'd have been funny if he just put out like that picture and it just said, I'm back. That'd be cool. That'd be funny.
Here's the hard part. The reason I said he was stuck between a rock and a hard place is this. Like Michael K said today on wherever, Yes Network, whatever, ESPN 98.7, whatever it is in New York. He's like, listen, there's only 30 teams. There are fewer baseball broadcasters than U.S. senators. If you think about it,
it's crazy.
There's like, if you want to be a TV guy, there's like 30-ish play-by-play jobs. You want to be a radio guy in baseball, 30, 40, 50 guys if there's two per team. Not every team has two play-by-play guys.
Yeah.
Right? Look at the Padres, for example. So it's like there's 60 jobs across TV and radio if you want to work in baseball as a play-by-play guy. You got to be careful not to necessarily rock the boat. You're going to put your foot down, but you want to be a play-by-play guy. You can't guarantee you're getting a job on the other side if you're not with Baltimore.
If I'm him, I would, yes, I'd be a nervous, I'd be a train wreck.
You'd be a train wreck, dude.
It'd be a train wreck. But I would find comfort in knowing that you have the backing of some of the greatest baseball broadcasters that the game has ever seen. In John Miller, in Michael Kay, and Gary Cohen.
Yeah, John Sterling.
Yep. You know, you have, I'm sure, every broadcaster. Aaron Goldsmith that we talked yesterday completely backs Kevin Brown. It's not like everybody in baseball is on top of this guy and calling him out for what he did or didn't do. He did his job, and everybody in baseball that is a big name has his back.
Yeah, but what's that worth?
I think for me, it would be worth a little bit of comfort.
Yeah, comfort. Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't pay your insurance.
But yeah, and that's what I mean is you're going to still do your job. You're not going to blow up you're not going to blow up the organization on social media because you got suspended for something stupid. You still have a job. You still get paid. You get a call, like he said, one of the most exciting, best teams in baseball, who we will see on Monday here
night
at Petco Park.
Mm-hmm.
And so being able to do your job again, getting paid, like you said, and also having the backing of pretty much every single broadcaster in the sport, it could be much worse.
Well, let me ask you this, though. Did the statement change anything about how you feel the organization was towards Kevin if Kevin is now backing the organization?
It made me feel like Kevin was told to do this if he wanted to return. Like if and when he was returning, the backlash that they got, they were like, "Hey, we need you to do this for us." He could have said no, and he could have said peace out. But like you said, there's only 30 of these jobs.
What other options you have?
There's no other option.
Yeah, if you want to, and here's the thing: if you want to be the voice of the Orioles, even if you don't like the owner, well, then there's only one job to be the voice of the Orioles.
Yep.
So if that's what you want to be, then it's hard to walk away from. I completely understand. It's just they put him in a real tough spot. Yeah. For him to play hardball, well, it could cost him his job. For him to go soft with the organization, people are going to say, well, hold on. Now you're kind of part of the PR team, and you're spinning it too.
No, I don't blame him at all for this statement because we all know that this statement was most likely from the organization. And if it wasn't, he's doing it to basically give the organization a solid because he doesn't want to lose his job.
So doesn't that then speak to, well, is that fair? Because when he's on air,
it's not
he's
fair.
going to be asked to be.
It's not fair, John.
Can he be an unbiased arbiter of a? Can he do his job?
None of it's fair, John. He can't. Well, he's done his job up to this point.
Well, no, but even in doing his job, it cost him 2 weeks of time doing his job by saying they're 0-15-1 in their last 16. So will he be even more sympathetic?
We're going to find out
on the other side, where the next time will be like, well, they're 1-0 in their last one against the Rays.
Or they lose a game. It's like, well, they scored 3 runs tonight. Because John, you know how this is. And I love Scan and Don and Mud, but you know that is a broadcast that is run by the Padres.
Sure.
And after the game the other night, when they lost 6-1, the first thing that they were talking about was like Yu Darvish's game.
No, I understand. And
so
I get it.
It comes from the top. And if you want a job, and if you want that specific job, you got to do it because you have bosses.
Right, but this is an extreme case. Like if Don went on the air and said, hey, the Padres have lost 4 straight to the Dodgers.
Oh, yeah, I know.
He's not losing his job.
Right.
Or being suspended because it's a factual statement. The fact that Kevin can't go on the air and say the Orioles have lost 4 straight to the Dodgers is a big problem because he should be able to give factual statements about a team, especially, and he was portraying it, by the way, in a positive light. Hey, we've been losing to the Rays, but we're better this year. All right, Paul Garrison will join us from the East Village Times on the other side. Right now, caller 5, you've got 2 free tickets to see Godsmack at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater August 27th. 844-570-1360. 2 free tickets to see Godsmack at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater August 27th. Caller 5, 844-570-1360. We'll kick off hour 2, talking some San Diego State football 2 weeks out with Paul Garrison. That's next on John and Jim. All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? Hour 2 of John and Jim this hour. Your chance to win tickets to see Darius Rucker at Gallagher Square on August 25th. More info at Ticketmaster.com. Also, still to come here today, we're going to catch up with Paul Garrison from the East Village Times in a moment. Kevin Acee, our Padres insider from Phoenix, will join the show. Why is Xander Bogaerts still batting fifth? We will ask, and also his thoughts on what Juan Soto said postgame, of course, a couple of days ago.
Oh, yeah, those comments.
Comments. Yeah, sure. We'll ask him about that coming up at 5 p.m.
Those little quotes.
We do have Paul Garrison with us. He does an amazing job covering San Diego State athletics and more for the East Village Times. He's been writing about tomorrow's scrimmage at Snapdragon Stadium. We'll broadcast live, by the way, before the scrimmage from 4 to 6. Aztecs will play at Snapdragon Stadium at 6 p.m. There are free tickets available for this at goaztecs.com. Paul writing within the last handful of hours about some storylines to watch for at San Diego State's Fan Fest and scrimmage tomorrow. So, Paul, always appreciate your time here on San Diego Sports 760. I want to start with this offense and Ryan Lindley. I know we've talked about it over parts of the offseason, but now that we're just 2 weeks out, now that we're going to see this team scrimmage tomorrow, what are the differences you're expecting from Ryan Lindley as the coordinator in terms of what he's trying to accomplish on offense that we didn't see a year ago when he wasn't the OC?
I think that he's going to try to accomplish getting down the real basics and the fundamentals of his offense, as opposed to, trying to implement things with the quarterbacks last year. I think that, he talked about this offseason wanting to make sure that he kind of kept the main things. And as an offensive coordinator, his first time going to be calling plays, there's a tendency to want to just kind of design 1,000 plays, but if you're kind of not very good at, if you're not good, if you try to do too much, you're not going to be great at anything. And I think that that's what you're really going to see. Is you're going to see a consistency, 2 tight ends, get those formations that they can feel comfortable in trying to put Jalen Maiden in his best position to be successful.
Paul, what's your expectation level for this offense? Like, do you have high expectations for them, or are you tempering them a little bit here because, it is a new offensive coordinator? They do have a bunch of weapons that they're replacing on offense. Yes, Jalen has a full offseason under his belt now, and he is the guy going forward. But, what is your expectation level for this offense coming in this year?
I think I'm going to expect them to move the football. Given, except for, I guess, the Air Force game, anytime that Jalen Maiden has been under center, they've moved the football. Watching them in the scrimmage last week on campus, watching them in practice, he moves the football. Against the San Diego State defense, which is, again, looking to be really formidable, they always move the football. The question that has to be there with Maiden until he proves otherwise is, can he take care of the football? And I think the expectation is they could be really good. But at the flip side of that is if he doesn't know how to kind of toe that line between being aggressive and then making that silly turnover, and if those kind of start piling up and it snowballs, then they're just going to give the other team a lot more opportunities. So I would say that the expectation is that they're going to be fun. They should be able to move the ball. You're going to see Maiden do things that most quarterbacks can do, especially with his legs. And the question is, can they get the ball in the end zone? And then how many turnovers are they going to give to the other team?
Paul Garrison with us right now from the East Village Times, talking some San Diego State football with their opener 2 weeks and 1 day out. San Diego State, Ohio. In what people are gonna hear me say this, but what are you talking about? It's a huge game. I'm telling you from a San Diego State perspective, and Jim's already laughing at my face.
No, I agree with you.
I know, but it is. I mean, it sounds when you hear San Diego State, Ohio, you wouldn't think, hey, it's San Diego State, UCLA.
Ohio was really good last year.
They were good last year, and you just look at. Let's go here actually with Paul right now. It's like, yeah, they get UCLA and Oregon State, Boise State, Air Force. Like those are, at least the first 3 I just mentioned. Those are kind of sexier matchups. But Paul, don't you feel as if a lot of what's going to happen in 2023 might be contingent on what they do in game 1? Like you win it, you can see your way to, 3-3-ish. You lose it, it could be a real tough hill to climb. So what do you make of, what they have in front of them specifically with that opening game?
I think everything that you said is 100% correct. And if you remember back, this Ohio game was scheduled late because Mexico State was supposed to be on the schedule. They get into a conference. They got to get rid of one of their non-conference games. And it kind of set up because San Diego State has a lot of young players. And I think tomorrow in the scrimmage, those young players being able to play in Snapdragon Stadium, hopefully get some of that experience to get some of those butterflies out, just kind of try to make playing in a big stadium, playing at Snapdragon Stadium, feel more comfortable when they do play Ohio. But I think it had set up really good where you would have, New Mexico State, then Idaho State, and then you had all those things that you named, and they kind of almost be, preseason games. But then you put Ohio in there, and they won 10 games, I believe, a year ago. They're returning back most of their team. They're really good, and I think it's everything that you just said. If they're able to get a win, they're able to show that they can play, be physical with a physical Ohio team, I think it could give them the momentum to be able to go. And then you're kind of playing with house money and trying to get a win in some of those games. You're 3-3, 4-2, and then you see what the season brings after that.
Paul, you wrote in East Village Times 5 storylines to watch at SDSU Fan Fest, and you wrote about position battles coming up here to watch at Fan Fest. For you, what position battle are you most interested in watching play out up until the start of this season?
Well, I mean, I think the newest one, coming into the year, I don't think anyone expected that their secondary would have position battles, but it seems like some of the underclassmen have played well enough to at least garner some sort of attention that they might be able to take some snaps away from players who have played for numerous years, have started games. So we're talking like Josh Hunter at safety. He's a redshirt freshman, came from Mater Dei Santa Ana, the national high school powerhouse, and he had a pick 6 in the scrimmage last week. Chris Johnson, who is a cornerback who played some last year, but he's really looked good. And you just didn't really expect that any of those guys would be able to vie for time in a real serious way this year. They really look like next year would be their time. And so I think that's the most interesting. I think the most important is the offensive line. I'm just not sure, what's up with Brandon Crenshaw-Dixon and what exactly the staff is doing and where he's playing. He's a 2-year starter, but he's been running with the 2s in spring and now again in fall camp. And just exactly why that is, if they're trying to figure out which of the young tackles is the best one, and then they're just going to slide BCD over to the other side, or if they're actually considering going with a redshirt sophomore and a redshirt freshman at tackle.
Paul Garrison with us right now, John and Jim, the all-new San Diego Sports 760. Let's talk about these receivers, Paul, because obviously they're replacing a lot. When you look at a Jesse Matthews and a Tyrell Shavers, and we know they're going to use the tight ends more, as you mentioned. We know they've got a full complement of running backs as well that they could probably use out of the backfield. What should Aztec fans expect from the receiver room? And I know a name that has caught some attention or headlines has been Balin Brooks, who looked good for a couple days in fall camp, then missed some time due to injury. What can you tell us about Brooks and also this receiver room?
Everything you just said, right. Brooks is a very, very physical receiver. I think when you look at them as a group, you have Breon Penny, and then everybody else is kind of in that smaller side until you see Brooks running around. They have a converted cornerback as well. Jelani Whitmore is also a little bit bigger, but of the ones who generally get the snaps. And so I think he definitely looked smooth. He caught the ball with ease in the early practices, but then he got hurt. And he was out on the side. He was back in warm-ups last week and this week, and but was unable to go because of NCAA rules as far as contact practices, non-contact practices. And so I think because the coaching staff has been so excited about him, asking Brady Hoke about the wide receivers and saying, hey, are you guys thin? He said, well, we got some guys that are sitting out that we think are going to give us some good depth and help us there. Philippe Wesley, he's another young guy who has seemingly developed a good rapport with Jalen Maiden. Makai Shaw, same thing. I think what they need to be able to do, this wide receiver group, is that they're going to need to exploit single coverage because teams are going to dare them to have to be the group that can beat them. And I think, you're going to see from them the ability to, make plays when Maiden kind of gets out of the pocket, and they just need to be able to make the defense be respectable. And then somebody needs to develop some sort of deep threat so that way the safeties can't just crowd the line of scrimmage and stay on those tight ends and stay on the running game.
Paul, you're heavily invested in San Diego State, obviously. So you've been heavily invested in conference realignment for sure. And with what happened last week with the Pac-12, and then, hearing yesterday, or was it yesterday? A couple of days ago, from J.D. Wicker saying that on record that, hey, we had everything ready to go, an invite ready to go, and it was going to be passed that we'll be joining the Pac-12 if they signed the grant of rights. Just, covering San Diego State and being heavily invested in them as you are, your thoughts on just everything that's played out here with the Aztecs?
Well, that exclusive that he had, J.D. Wicker coming on your guys' show, was a great interview, and I think there was a lot of that was mentioned there that just on the record was like kind of the first time rumors, things of that nature, but that actually came out in that interview, and it's not surprising what he said because they've kind of been acting that way for a long time, but I don't think anyone could have predicted that the Pac-12 leadership could have been as seemingly incompetent as it's turning out that they were. It was shocking. I mean, I think it shocked everybody how quickly it moved. And now San Diego State, they've got to pivot. This is not the last of realignment. Sure. Even after this dust settles and they figure out exactly what takes place and where San Diego State is, there's another one coming in probably 2030 because it's moving towards a huge gap between, the Big Ten, SEC, and more of like an NFL model. I mean, there's already ideas that the Big Ten is going to be playing 10 conference games. That's not too far from having their whole schedule just be amongst themselves or maybe with one other conference. And so San Diego State over the next handful of years needs to position itself for inclusion in whatever comes next. And they're going to do it with less resources than I think they were hoping. But they have opportunities that the program has never had before with Snapdragon Stadium, and they should have a little bit of a better schedule, however all of this conference stuff realignment happens. And it's going to be up to, fan support and the university to see if they can kind of build their resume for that next wave.
Paul, we enjoy your work. We really do. Again, for our listeners, if you're heading to Fan Fest, if you're interested in the storylines about 2 weeks out, you can check it out in the East Village Times. 5 storylines to watch at San Diego State's Fan Fest, which is tomorrow at 6 over at Snapdragon Stadium. We'll broadcast live from 4 to 6. Paul, we always appreciate your time. We look forward to doing more of it now that we're back into football season. And thank you for doing it today on John and Jim.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Paul Garrison again from the East Village Times. So we're going to be there. We need to coordinate what we're wearing.
Clothes?
No, I mean, we'll wear clothes definitely, but I don't want to have the exact same outfit on.
Okay. Well,
you don't want to go down there all twinsies?
Not really, to be honest. I mean, I'm not opposed to it. Like, I'm going to be wearing a San Diego State polo.
I will not be wearing a polo. I'll be wearing probably something like this.
Oh, okay.
So then you're good.
Like this means T-shirt.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Okay, we're good. All right, we'll be there tomorrow.
I know you were worried about the San Diego State polo that I would wear.
I don't even know what you would wear. I forget.
It's red. Here, it looks like this.
No, I trust you.
No, you don't. You don't have this one. I don't. I've never seen you wear this one, so you're good.
Okay.
I might wear it. I might surprise you. I don't know.
Okay.
Just wear. If you have one, wear a black one.
What if it's going to be hot?
It's a T-shirt.
No, it's a polo.
So
join us tomorrow, 4 to 6. We'll broadcast live. Swing by before you go in. If you're heading there tomorrow, again, great event, free.
Yeah.
Get tickets at goaztecs.com. Hang out with us. We'll be there from 4 to 6. Switching gears back to the Padres, who play tonight against the Diamondbacks. If you're wondering, are the Padres going to be a heavy favorite here tonight, even though they've lost 4 consecutive games? They're taking on a team that's lost 8 consecutive games. Well, the answer is yeah, because Blake Snell's pitching. So Blake Snell has been really good. I actually thought they might be more of a favorite than they are. They're minus 155 tonight. So Blake Snell making the start for the Padres. Who's he facing? He is facing Ryan Nelson, who's got a 5.16 ERA. I mean,
oh boy,
here we go. I'll go down
again.
the same path. I'm going to do it.
Here we go again.
Sorry, there's no other option other than to look good tonight.
That's
the only option.
I know it's the only option. And again, I would not be surprised if tonight, all of a sudden, it's the 5th inning and they have 3 hits and no runs.
Well, no runs isn't good. I was going to say if they're all homers,
3 hits and 1 run. There you go.
In 5 innings of Ryan Nelson?
Yeah, with a 5+ ERA. Would you be surprised? No.
No, and it would speak more to what Juan Soto told us 2 nights ago,
Yeah.
which is, you know what? Sometimes we're just not in it. Sometimes we literally quit.
But this series, more than any other series they've had this year, will tell you all you need to know about this team. Because, and you could argue that you already know everything about this team.
Right.
But this series in particular, how damning these quotes were from the team yesterday, coming off of a lifeless series versus the Mariners where they admitted they quit and gave up, to the closed-door meeting that they had again. You can't come out this series and lose it. You just can't.
And that's what we just said against Seattle.
Because if you do, well, they didn't have a closed-door meeting after they lost a series versus the Dodgers.
Right.
They didn't have quotes that they gave up against the Dodgers after they lost to them. They had those quotes after the Mariners series.
True.
So the series after following that needs to be where you go out and win the series. Because if you lose the series, again, like I said, this team has been all talk this year, and then it will continue to be all talk until they turn it around. Or show something of life.
Here's the thing. I mean, we've said it all year, but the truth is their next 26 games, 20 of them are against teams right in front of them in the standings. 20 of their next 26 are against teams that are technically right now NL wildcard contenders. That doesn't mean things are going to be better than they've gone right now, but at least gives them an opportunity where if in those 20 games you go 12-8, you're making up collective ground against teams that are in front of you.
And if you're, I mean, we got a scoreboard watch now, right? It's scoreboard watching time.
We've been scoreboard watching.
I know, but I'm just saying it's official. Like, I think scoreboard watching is in full effect.
Yeah.
Marlins trail the Yankees 3-2 in the top of the 3rd inning there. Reds are up 3-0 on the Pirates after the top of the 1st inning. They're still at the plate with only 1 out. And then the Cubs lead the Blue Jays 3-0 in the bottom of the 1st.
It doesn't. We always scoreboard watch, but obviously the only thing that matters is if the Padres win, because you can watch and watch and watch.
Whoa.
And if they go 32-15, like you said, they'll be in the playoffs. If they go 15-32, they won't.
But if the Padres continue to win and teams in front of them continue to win,
no, not if they go 32-15. Like you said, the math will work.
Well,
you got to trust the math.
If the Cubs or Miami go 30 and
then
17,
yeah,
then
but
it's over.
I just have faith that the Marlins aren't good. The Cubs aren't good, nor are the Padres right now. But I have faith that if the Padres get hot, they will be in it. And that it's not like the Cubs are just going to run away from them. If the Padres close 32-15 and miss the postseason, I'll give them credit. Because that's an amazing finish. If they go 32-15 and get to 87 wins, I'm like, you know what? They finally turned it on, and give the Cubs credit for making it with 88 wins.
I'll give them credit for that stretch, but overall in the season,
yes.
It's still a complete failure.
You're going to call it a failure if they win the World Series.
No, I won't.
Well, you were saying, like, we still have to look at the first 115 games if they win the World Series.
Well, there's problems here, John, that need to be addressed.
Not if they win the World Series, though.
Okay, you're right.
But again, they're in a spot where that's not going to be easy to do.
Right.
And they're also in a spot where 2 days ago we said you can't lose to Emerson Hancock, and they did. And today you can't lose to Ryan Nelson. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I know.
Facing guys with 5 and 6 ERAs and scoring 1 run against them consistently. That's the only thing they've been consistent at.
Yeah, not good.
Not hitting good pitching.
They're very consistent at that. They are very consistent at that for sure. Yeah, we're at Fairplay. Come on down. Padres take on the Diamondbacks 6:40 tonight. There is other games happening. NFL just got underway. Packers Cincinnati.
Huge.
Little Jordan Love action there.
Yeah, huge game.
Huge game. Must win for the Packers.
Oh,
for
absolutely.
Sure. Well, they need Jordan Love to play well, or else Colin's going to rip him tomorrow.
I know.
I mean, Monday, sorry.
If he doesn't play well in this drive. Oh, false start, by the way.
Oh, Jordan Love's a bust.
Okay, here's what we have still to come.
And you have a
show.
kombucha, by the way. Show everybody on YouTube your kombucha.
Well,
it is a blue kombucha. Very soft of you to get that.
It's not, I'm told it's not even kombucha, but I like it.
It's like a see-through white little bit of bluish
to
it.
Coral.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm like with seahorses. What's that called? Like a coral reef.
Sure.
Would be this color.
Yeah.
Okay, a couple things. Kevin Acee is going to join us coming up at 5 p.m. He is our Padres insider. If you have a question for Kevin, you can get it in on the text line. There are a lot of people that have questions right now. We're going to try to answer as many as we can or have Kevin answer them. 70470.
Answer my question, Kevin.
Start your question with team. Also, this hour, we're not doing Trainwreck Radio because we're on remote at Fairplay, but we are giving away Darius Rucker tickets this hour. And then next hour, we're giving away tickets to see Dierks Bentley. So Darius Rucker, Gallagher Square at Petco Park. That's August 25th. More info at Ticketmaster.com. And then Dirks Bentley, North Island Credit Union Amphitheater, August 18th. More info at Ticketmaster.com. On the other side, we will get to the wrap. Still ahead, our conversation with Kevin Acee as the Padres get ready for the Diamondbacks game, one of a 3-game series. Win night, Blake Snell on the mound. Can the Padres win a must-win series when they've been losing a lot of them here?
Must-win
at
series.
55-60 overall. The wrap is up next. Stay with us on John and Jim. All right, with you until 6 o'clock. Fairplay in North Park. Kevin Acee is our Padres insider. He will join us from Phoenix coming up at 5 p.m. If you're looking for a spot to begin your weekend, you got to join us here from Fairplay. An amazing spot, especially on a Friday afternoon. The sun is out. TVs for every single game. The Padres, of course, will be on tonight. They've got every food and drink combination you could ask for. I'm drinking. Jim isn't. Yeah, that's true. But they got beer. They got everything you need.
I'm drinking.
Okay,
I'm drinking water.
They got everything you need. We'd love to have you join us here. We're here until 6 o'clock. Padres are going to play
kids.
At 6:40. Still ahead this hour. Your chance to win tickets to see Darius Rucker and again Kevin Acee will join us coming up at 5 p.m. Do you want to get to the wrap?
I do want to get to the wrap.
All right.
Would you guys sign up for winning 2 out of 3 this weekend against the Diamondbacks?
Yeah, because the alternative is losing the series or getting swept, and if that happens, it's like officially done. Like it's just like put another stake in them. So yeah, I'm signing up for series wins. It doesn't really move me a lot, just because where they're at and who they're playing, and I feel like they need to sweep this series here. Even if they do sweep this series, they still need to do more. But yeah, I'd sign up for the bare minimum, which is them having to win a series. Yeah.
Well, using your math, if they need to go something like 32-15 or 31-16, that means they need to win 2 out of every 3 games from here on out. I don't know if that's realistic or not, but yes, they need 2 out of 3. I would take 2 out of 3, considering they've lost 4 consecutive overall. I know the Diamondbacks are bad. I know you've got Blake Snell, so you should be able to win a couple of these games. Of course, everyone wants a sweep. 2 out of 3, though, heading home. It'll be a long homestand. Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it right now, 2 out of 3. Next question.
Who will be the best rookie quarterback this season?
I'm taking him because he got ripped this morning.
Yeah.
CJ Stroud, just because. I'm taking him. He kind of had a less than stellar debut last night for the Texans, but I think he's in a good position. I think the coaching staff there is competent. D'Amico Ryan, I think he's good. I'll say CJ Stroud just because he got ripped for having a bad preseason performance. Oh my God, so what?
Well, let me ask you this: who's going to get opportunities to start the year?
Anthony Richardson.
So there's only 2 guys, right? Is it going to be Stroud?
Well, Bryce Young too.
And Richardson. Oh, Young's going to start in Carolina.
Yeah, of course.
Because there's no other option.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, based on CJ Stroud's struggles, no, I'm kidding. I mean, Bryce Young, Alabama, CJ Stroud, Ohio State. Is that fair to say, well, he went to Ohio State therefore, and you go down that path? Not like every Alabama quarterback, by the way, works out. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's really hard to say. It's more about system than it is quarterback is what I would say. I think it's more about system than circumstance.
Then you're going with Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, maybe, or Bryce Young. I'm not in love with Anthony Richardson, at least his time in college.
Well, so at least Bryce Young, you have Frank Wright there.
And you just have, I mean, he's just so sensational. He's so athletic. So is CJ Stroud. So is Richardson, to be honest. I'll go with Bryce Young by a nose.
Okay.
I don't think any of these guys is going to win the MVP this year.
Probably not.
Next question.
What's the better opening night NBA game? The Warriors Suns or the Lakers Nuggets? Jim, you don't even have to answer.
John, what's your answer?
So we both say Lakers Nuggets? No, it's
no.
I just say it's Lakers Nuggets because only Lakers Nuggets includes LeBron James.
Come on.
Now you're going to say Warriors Suns because only Warriors Suns includes like Steph Curry.
No, there is actually good storylines
Chris
there.
Chris Paul. So that's the reason?
No. Chris Paul versus the Suns. Kevin Durant versus Draymond Green. You have Bradley Beal making his debut for the Suns. And then Chris Paul also making his debut for the Warriors. I don't know how it's not.
I mean, Chris
Suns,
Paul versus
Warriors.
the Suns isn't like, man, finally Chris Paul faces his former team. I mean, the same with Chris Paul's played for every team.
I know he has, but still, it's interesting because the only time he ever made an NBA Finals was with who? The Phoenix Suns.
I assume Lakers Nuggets would be in Denver.
Of course it is.
Since they won the title?
Yes, John.
It should be at Staples Center.
You mean crypto?
Just because they play, it seems like they play every game at Staples Center.
Talk about a downfall of something.
It's just giving the rings there.
Oof.
Right,
Yeah, give them their rings at the
LA.
crypto.
That's hilarious. Next question.
All right, guys, does it matter to you what the Padres' final record is if they don't make the playoffs?
No. The goal is what, John?
I would say make the playoffs.
And then after that, what's the other goal?
Win the World Series.
There you go. So if you don't make the playoffs, I don't care if they won 99 games. It's a failure.
They're not going to win 99 games and miss the playoffs.
I know they're not.
And they're not going to win 99 games.
No. And maybe that's a stretch because winning 99 games, you obviously make it. Duh.
Yep.
But if they win 86 games and have a good finish here to the season and they miss out by 2 or 3 games, I'll be more upset with that. I'll be more upset with that than I would be if they just, were out by 7 or 8 games, because that tells me that, or doesn't tell me anything, but what it does is it makes me more upset because of everything that happened the first 115 games.
Interesting. So you'd prefer, you're the classic fan that would prefer the Niners lose by 30 so you can go to a movie in the second half, then see the Niners lose on a last-second blocked extra point.
Yes, because you know what sticks with me more?
The blocked extra point
is the Kyle Williams fumble in the NFC Championship game in overtime, more than them losing by 30 with no quarterback to the Eagles.
But wouldn't you prefer the full game or full season drama to, the Padres, if they went 50-112 this year, we could have turned them off on May 15th. But is that preferable to kind of hanging around? I'd prefer they see this thing all the way through. And if they get to 85, 86 wins, they're going to have a chance to make the postseason. Yeah, it's not going to be deemed a success. I'm with you. Even though I said earlier, if they finish 32-15, here's what's going to happen. If they finish 32-15 or something like that and miss out, you know what's going to happen. They're going to say, hey, we finally got going. We're going to use that momentum into next year.
Which is such BS.
That's what they're going to say. Hey, we really found something there late.
Such BS.
And we just missed out.
That's stupid. Why couldn't you have done it earlier? That's what everyone's going to be saying. Why wasn't there urgency before you got to the code red break glass in case of emergency? Right. Why wasn't there from the jump this message from the clubhouse that, hey, we are going to all pull on the same rope here and we're going to start out hot. And we're not going to just think that we can go out there and let our talent win us games, because that's not how it works in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it'd make me even more upset.
Yeah, I mean, neither is ideal, and I understand what you're saying, because here's the thing. If they go 15-32, not 32-15, you're going to be like, they quit. And that's going to be the topic of conversation all offseason and all September. Hey, this team quit. Why? What happens next? If they do the opposite and they miss out, we're going to say, well, why didn't we see that team the first 4.5 months of the season? There's no good that comes of them missing the postseason, which is basically answering this question. There's no good in it. Would I prefer them going 32-15 to 15-32 down the stretch? I think so. I think it'll make for a more fun September.
It would.
If they're winning series and getting back in it.
Dude, you know what's going to happen? They're going to, with 7 games remaining,
right?
Or 6 games remaining, they'll be eliminated. And then they're going to win the final 6 games of the season. by
game out.
By an average of 9 runs a game. They're going to just be doing everything right that we haven't seen all year long. And they're going to have a plus 120 run differential and miss out.
It's possible. Yeah, that's absolutely possible. What's also possible is they get to the final weekend of the season and they are in it. We've seen that before, with the Giants in 2010.
Well, hey, again, dude, you talk all this talk about how things need to change. And I've read quotes earlier today from literally a month and a half ago, which are the same quotes they have said over the course of the entire season. Can you back it up maybe one time? Can you back up all of this talk one time, or are you going to go out there, or you're going to, turtle in your shell and not back up anything you say?
The 4.5 game out thing, I could be misled by if they had Joe Musgrove. You know what I mean? I could go down that rabbit hole. You know what? They got win days with Musgrove and Snell. Without Musgrove and with each passing day, and we'll ask Kevin about this, it to me appears less likely each day that Joe Musgrove is going to return, and you're missing him twofold. Leadership qualities. You can't be the same leader when you're not in uniform. I'm sorry, not playing. You just cannot. That's a 1 in a million. And then you're missing him because the guy was pitching like Blake Snell. He had the second best ERA in baseball for the last 2.5 months. So that's just such a big loss. And to be honest, they had dodged the injury bug for most of the year.
Yeah.
But losing Joe Musgrove potentially for the last 2 months could be too much to overcome, I think, potentially for the Padres. Kevin Acee will join us. We'll talk to him about Joe Musgrove. Will he pitch again in 2023? Also, what did he make of Juan Soto's comments following the series lost in Seattle? On the other side, we are going to give away tickets to see Darius Rucker, Gallagher Square. That's August 25th. More info at Ticketmaster.com. Our Padres insider, Kevin Acee, he'll join the show coming up at 5 p.m. Join us. We're at Fairplay in North Park until 6 p.m. Padres D-backs at 6:40. Stay with us on the all-new San Diego Sports 760. All right, less than 2 hours out. Padres weekend series in the desert against the Diamondbacks. We'll get you ready over the next hour plus. Kevin Acee will join us coming up at 5 p.m. Between now and 5, we'll give away a pair of tickets to see Darius Rucker, Gallagher Square on August 25th. More info at Ticketmaster.com. We discussed this earlier off air, and it is fascinating. You have the San Diegan Phil Mickelson, who we have always known to be a bettor, right?
Oh, yeah.
Now, what we have found out today is that not only does he like to gamble, but we're talking crazy numbers. And now this is according to what? A new book? Yeah, this is an allegation in a new book that Phil Mickelson has lost over $100 million on wagers and has tried to bet previously on the Ryder Cup, among a number of other things.
Which he was playing in, by the way.
A Ryder Cup that he was in.
Yes, that he was in. It wasn't like just another one. He was actually playing in it.
And it's alleged that he has bet over $1 billion over the last 3 decades.
And lost $100 million.
And lost $100 million plus. He also allegedly, in one day, made 43 bets on Major League Baseball games in one day.
How could you even do that? I mean, who would ever do that? Betting on baseball is never a good idea.
Never.
So much variance, man.
Dude.
You can lose to Emerson Hancock.
That is an addiction right there.
Yeah, when you bet on 43 baseball games.
You know, Michael Jordan had that, and he still does to this day, the gambling fix. Charles Barkley has that gambling itch all the time. When you have FU money, it's hard not to just be like, hey, I'll bet you $100,000 on something. It doesn't really matter because guess what? I'll make $100,000 tomorrow from one of my endorsers, or I'll make $100,000 in the next 2 weeks. Who cares about this?
But does he even have this money? I mean, again, he went over to the Live Tour where he got paid as well. But can anyone afford to lose $100 million? He's had all kinds of issues with finances.
I think there's a couple of people that can afford to lose $100,000.
But $100 million.
$100 million.
Right? The allegations are he's lost over $100 million.
We're going to say
over $1 billion.
I was going to say I wouldn't be surprised if him going to Live had something to do with his gambling.
Money.
So maybe he needed money.
And by the way, why do you even wager if you don't need it either way, to your point? If it's FU money and the 100K doesn't matter, then why do you want to win it?
It's because the competitive juices.
Yeah.
The rush. The adrenaline rush. You've had it before. I've had it before. Everyone's had it before. That adrenaline rush of something that makes you feel alive again.
You want to make a bet with me for 100K?
I hate betting because I don't have much money.
Okay.
Well, but there's a reason why as soon as sports gambling became legal in most states that they all have that disclaimer at the end now after every game about, if you have a gambling problem, call this and get help. There's a reason they do that because it's easy to get hooked. You win a few times in a row, then you're going to think you're going to win all the time.
No doubt. No, I'm with you. I mean, it's incredible, though.
It's insane, dude.
$1 billion in wagers, $100 million in losses, 43 bets a day on baseball.
Now, I don't have a problem with anybody betting. It's not illegal, But
correct. But this is crazy money.
But if he was betting on tournaments that he was in, and did you?
No.
I knew this was going to happen. What'd you do?
I didn't do anything.
I can't hear myself.
Oh, you can't?
Yeah, because you unplugged me.
I can hear myself.
We just, by the way, right now, we have no joke.
We have a lot of cords,
7 million cords.
Yes,
around us right now, and John accidentally pulled one out, and I couldn't hear myself for a second. So you might want to move away a little bit from the cords. If you're watching
I'm by $1 million cords. It's fine. What's the worst thing that happens? We go off air.
Yeah, that's the worst thing that could happen.
Is it really the end of the world?
Probably not. It probably isn't. But yeah, dude, if I had a bunch of money and I had that, I just wanted a adrenaline rush, I would be betting a lot probably.
It is interesting how we look at betting in sports because you have the Pete Rose situation where he's basically become the most vilified athlete in American sports history because he was betting on the Reds, right? And you just never could bet on baseball if you were in baseball. As written of a rule as there has been in the history of the game, right? Cannot bet on baseball. But as things have changed specifically over the last decade and how betting has become normalized, if not also, of course, legalized, although not in every single state, I don't know. It's changed the conversation, I think. Even a story like this about Phil Mickelson, I think if this is 20 years ago, you'd be like, oh my gosh, betting isn't even legal, and these dollar amounts are crazy, and can he even participate in the sport? Where Pete Rose made a few bets on the Reds, is that accurate, or was it more? And he bet on the Reds winning. And
it was also the player manager too, right? Wasn't he the manager of the team?
Yes, and bet on them winning. Yeah, but it's like, okay, he's not betting on them losing. And he's been blackballed from the sport for 40 years.
Yeah, I know. And betting's one of the like cornerstones of like I feel like the sporting world in the country.
It is now. I mean, look at what has happened with Nevada, where you'd never see a professional team, you'd never see the NCAA tournament conduct NCAA events there. Now you got
a million teams there,
regionals, and you got teams, and you got the Raiders, and you got the A's, and you got everything.
The only problem that I would have with Phil gambling all this money is if he literally gambled on himself in tournaments and then purposefully missed putts or something to, get that money.
But then he wouldn't be really betting on himself, betting against himself, I guess.
Or betting against himself.
Yeah.
I don't know how that would work, if you can even do that. But
no, that would be a problem.
That would be a problem. But I don't. Everything else, like betting on 43 or 50, whatever it was, 50. What did I say? 53 games, or
you have 43 baseball games in a day.
I don't have a problem with that. That's just. I mean, that's just insane, and it's crazy to even think about. I can't even fathom it. But
the only part that, the only part to me, honestly, that frustrates me, to your point, is like, dude, how many people listening to us, or just how many people in general, Americans or people around the world,
will never see that money?
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't literally kill, like, but I mean, imagine having $100,000 of disposable income, let alone $100 million or $1 billion. Like, how much good could be done with $1 billion? I would imagine a good amount could be done with it. You're just going to wager it away.
Yeah, and he's still rich. So imagine if he didn't bet all that money. He'd be
even richer.
He'd be double rich.
Right. He'd be really rich.
He'd be super rich.
Good point. All right. Kevin Acee is going to join us coming up in just about 5 minutes right now. Caller 7. You've got 2 free tickets to see Darius Rucker at Gallagher Square at Petco Park, August 25th. More info at Ticketmaster.com. The number to call, 844-570-1360. Caller 7. 2 free tickets to see Darius Rucker, 844-570-1360. It's our Padres Insider, Kevin Acee. Will get us ready for the weekend in the desert. Padres and Diamondbacks next, right here on John and Jim. All right, we kick off hour 3 here from Fairplay in North Park with our Padres insider Kevin Acee back with us on San Diego Sports 760 and John and Jim. Game 1 of the series coming up in about an hour and a half, 6:40. Padres and Diamondbacks. Kevin, as always, as you know, we do appreciate you hopping on with us. I want to start with Wednesday night, which is what Padres fans want to start with, not necessarily the game or the results, but what was said post-game. They had the players-only meeting, and then Juan Soto saying how the team at times, sometimes, quote-unquote, literally quits. What was your reaction to what Juan Soto had to say after that loss Wednesday night?
Well, let's remember that used literally in such a way that the dictionary actually changed it to basically say it could be literally or it could just be a figure of speech. So let's just remember that Andy's in his second language. But you guys, we've talked about that before, right? But I promise you, like, this was not a second language situation. This was, he meant what he said. There was some frustration in it. He certainly didn't mean every player. But look, this team has a penchant for 4, 5, 6 innings at the end of games, or when they get down by a couple runs, it doesn't look good. And he's not the first person, to say after a game, Bob Melvin has, Jake Cronenworth has, there's others I can't remember off the top of my head, so I don't want to say, but other guys have said this. So there's at least some kernel of truth in this, and I don't know. I think it's been a season-long issue. I don't think maybe that it's this 5-alarm fire, but it is. Sorry about that. You know what? One of the players who actually does do is at bats every at bat. Thought I was talking to him, so he came over and wanted to see what I was saying. So that was nice of him, but it distracted me because I'm an old man. And I can't do 2 things at once. So anyway, I don't know that it's a 5-alarm fire that we maybe would tend to make it, but I do think that there was enough truth in it that, and I wrote a couple weeks ago, there's something about this team's lack of urgency that has to be addressed. And I wrote that when they were actually going pretty good, because I think it's an issue, and it has been an issue for, say, 3 years. And so I think that it's something that needs to be addressed. Did Wednesday night post-game meeting change that? I don't know. Did any of the 3 previous post-game meetings change anything? I don't know. Probably facing the Diamondbacks, if anything, will change it. Now, I didn't just guarantee a win, but, they've handled the Diamondbacks pretty well. The Diamondbacks are scuffling. So it's probably good timing for a team meeting.
And my next question was about the team meeting. First off, who calls these team meetings? Who is the player on this team that organizes, hey, we're closing the doors, we're talking here, media's not allowed in? Who's that player? Do you know?
It is generally Manny. Xander has stepped up before. I do not know about Wednesday night's meeting. So, there was an off day yesterday. It was like getaway day. Guys were, I'll just say this. Not that this, means, don't read too much into this, but you know what? Guys were out here at 2:00 hitting some big names. Not that hasn't happened before. And guys were, getting after it before the game. Whether it translates, whether it, ends up meaning anything, like Bob Melvin said in his pregame gaggle, it's about winning. You got to go out and show it. But I will say the guys have been pretty into it today. I do not know exactly how Wednesdays went down, to answer your question. It is generally at this point Manny, Xander, but Joe, I do not know if Joe spoke in this one. Joe definitely talked. The way that these have gone earlier this year is multiple people speak up and kind of give their 2 cents of what is happening and what is not happening. And the tone of this one was evidently like previous ones, we're better than this. And some calling out of, I don't think that, I don't think Juan Soto said something there that he didn't say in the meeting or that wasn't said in the meeting, because it lined up with what some other people said that we got to have more fight than this.
Well, where I was going to go with this, Kevin, is why I asked you who calls these team meetings. Is if this, just say for conversation's sake, Manny Machado's called multiple team meetings this year, because this is not the first one. So is Manny Machado's message in the clubhouse, is his voice not being heard? Because this is not the first meeting that they've had where you had the one of your leaders of the team be the driving force in it. So like, is the message in the locker room being, received by who was calling these team meetings? That it doesn't feel like it is, because nothing's changed.
So I'll say this, valid question. And I mean that, like, that's a question we have to ask. And that's what I meant a couple weeks ago when I was like, there's something has to be addressed, whether it's, probably after the season, that like, what is the culture problem here? And so that's a valid question that you just asked. I can't answer it for you definitively. What I will say is, as you pointed out, what is the evidence? And the evidence is, they haven't worked out so great. Now, there were a couple meetings last year that one that I was, told not to write about. And sometimes there's circumstances that I find out something, but it's in an off the record situation. And I was told not to write about one that happened earlier in the season, and they lost that day. Now, there was the one, right, after the game here on September 15th that, we all wrote about. And look, they went on a big run after that. Look, just because it doesn't work out and it translates into wins after a meeting doesn't mean a meeting wasn't a good idea, or that the message in there was given by the wrong person or whatever. That doesn't necessarily mean that. But I will say again, the evidence is that, yeah, whatever is being said by whoever's saying it is not, it's not having the desired effect.
Well, there's no doubt about it. Kevin Acee is our Padres insider. He's with us right now on John and Jim, the all-new San Diego Sports 760. Okay, a couple of things. How about Joe Musgrove, who is, hoping to work his way back? How much of Joe Musgrove's future in 2023 is contingent on the team's play? Because if they continue to just kind of hang around under 500, is there any real motivation to get him back in September?
I would think not. But now, that could be like if Joe will push. I don't care where they're at. If they're still alive, Joe will push. But he was the guy who set the whole, 6 days and, I'll be back for the Seattle and all that. Like that, Joe was driving that, and he really thought that was going to happen. So, he also then has, based on how this has gone this year, where he fought through so much stuff, that he has probably learned this year that he needs to listen a little bit more and maybe be a little more cautious. So that's why I say I would think that if they, I don't know what the magic number is, but if they are not doing well, that there's less motivation and less of a chance that we see him. Now, that said, he could check out completely 100% fine, and it really doesn't matter, and there's any potential for further damage. And then what difference does it make? Joe Musgrove, the competitor, will be back on the mound. Yes, I would think that that's something to keep an eye on.
Kevin, would you be surprised if Bob Melvin's the manager of this team next year?
At this point, I guess I would. And I say that based on that it's the manager who takes the fall. There's a history here of managers taking the fall. It's been rough. So I guess if you were asking me, and I always answer your call, and I can be in trouble a lot because then people go, "Oh, you said this," and I don't know at this point. But if I'm betting based on my reporting, based on what has been going on here all year, I give you a yes or no, and my answer would be yes.
Oh, sorry, Kevin, your phone's breaking up a little bit there. Could you repeat? Could you repeat that? Oh, sorry, we barely could hear you.
Oh, sorry about that. Arizona. It's
yeah, of course, hot.
It can't be my phone's fault.
It's the weather.
Listen, my thing was I want to answer you. And my first answer is I don't know. But my answer to you, based on that I like to, what you guys pay me for is give you answers. The answer is yes, I would be surprised. That's based on what I call educated speculation. I do a lot of reporting. And also there's just the knowledge of it's the manager who takes the fall. So I guess if you want me to give you a yes or a no, yes, I would be surprised. At this point, I don't know. And I'll say this. You fired a manager, and I'm not saying anything about the validity of the firing of Andy Green or Jay Stingler. If you fired a manager after 19 and you fired a manager after 21, and if you fire a manager after 23, I think that's a pattern. And it's like, really? So it's like every manager's fault and not the people who've been here like the whole time or most of the time? I think that even if you fire him, we all still should have some questions about what the heck is going on here.
I'd be worried if I was the new manager in 2025 based on the odd year trend. Kevin Acee is with us right now. He's our Padres insider, Padres Diamondbacks in Phoenix. This is off our text line, Kevin. And I forget the exact article, but the texter wants to know, does the Soto quote match and support your reporting about clubhouse fissures from this past May? Is that a fair question? Because you did write about that, right? We're going back a couple of months, but does that kind of follow up with some of the things you've been writing about for the last couple of months?
Sure, a little bit. I think it's two different things. We might be talking about like oranges and tangelos here. You know what I'm saying? Like it's different,
Yep.
but it's like they're different. It's not apples and oranges. So there's like a little thread there. But no, this was more about a guy who goes up every at bat, and whatever you want to say about his defense or the shuffle or his, whatever, right? Like Juan Soto battles every at bat. And like I said earlier in the interview, the reality is that this team, did two guys get on base in the final 4 innings or something like that? Like, I mean, nobody got on in the 7th or 8th, and then they're down 5 runs and 2 guys get on, and that has happened a lot. And they're 4 pitch at bats, they're 2 pitch at bats. I'm not saying they're quitting. I'm saying that when you have this many people saying stuff that like we were flat or we gave up, and then you see the evidence with your eyes, then there are at least questions. To answer that question, I'll reiterate. I think that no, but I think that they're related. Like, look, there have been questions all along. I think that was April that I reported that, the end of April, and that had been going on for a couple of weeks. That maybe a little bit of finger pointing, a little bit of this and that. It happens every single year. It goes away if you win. That I would say that is also something for us to continue to look at after the season.
Kevin, why is Xander Bogaerts continuously hitting in the fifth spot of this lineup?
A valid question again. Depending how many valid questions. You know that over the past whatever, let's say since the All-Star break, he's been their second best hitter. Now, granted, that's something like 1 for 23 or 24 with runners in scoring position. All that. Who is in? You want to keep your right, left? Okay. Do you move? Is it Cronenworth because he's been hitting lately? Is it Sanchez or Campusano? Those are valid questions, but the fact is, like, Xander is consistently hitting. I do think that even though this was told me that this isn't necessarily an issue anymore, but I do think you also do have to, look at some of the, I hate to use the word egos. You have to look at the stature of the player, and unless you can really justify to a guy, people have pointed out to me Trey Turner was moved down. Have you seen the OPSs and the OPS pluses of 7 of the 9 players in their lineup, in the Phillies lineup? There were good options to move up when you move Trey Turner down. What is the reality of this lineup? A streaky Gary Sanchez, an unproven Luis Campusano. What are you going to do? Some guys, by the way, don't respond to being moved up in the lineup. And so there's a lot that goes into it that those of us asking the questions, I'm not saying they're not valid questions, but that aren't maybe necessarily aware of, or, don't have to think about like Bob Melvin has to think about. But yeah, look, I think he would have been moved down if he wasn't hitting whatever it is, 300 since the All-Star break. I think he would have been moved down.
It's just he hasn't driven anyone in, right? I mean,
two RBIs.
Right.
Yeah, but no, it's a fair point. It's a fair point. Your point is valid. It's not like he's hitting 110. He's
a very
hitting,
soft,
he just has not hit in the clutch. But he's not the only one, by the way, that has not hit in the clutch. No, it's a good point. Kevin Acee is our Padres insider. He's with us right now on John and Jim. We have another question off our text line, actually off our chat here. Matt wants to know, Kevin, does Bob Melvin? Who's responsible for the bullpen decisions? Is it Melvin? Is it Niebla? Is it the combination? And he also wants to know, is Melvin the one literally writing the lineup, or is that coming from above Melvin day in and day out?
Melvin has virtual control, total control over the lineup with discussions. And then there's, if your boss tells you something and says, hey, that's up to you.
Right.
But, maybe spend an hour talking about something else. That, about a certain way he'd go, so Bob has virtual control over that lineup, virtual total control. And then the bullpen decisions are, he leans on Niebla a lot. But I know of some times that maybe Niebla's higher on a guy than Bob, and Bob's the guy who has to answer for that and has to use his own keel to say, you know what, even whatever the numbers say or however much I trust Ruben, that I don't think this is the spot for this guy. So my answer is it's Bob, but he really does lean on Ruben Niebla quite a bit.
The final one for me, Kevin. When should we expect to see Michael Wacha back?
Tuesday. It's virtually certain. He felt very good, is all the reports, after going 67 pitches, basically 5, simulated innings yesterday against minor leaguers down the road in Peoria, and he'll be back in there. He thinks he can go 90 pitches. Let's think more like 80 pitches Tuesday against the Orioles.
Never a dull moment, Kevin. 47 games to play. We'll do it again next week. Back when the Padres are home. We appreciate it. Have a good weekend in the desert.
See you guys. Thanks.
The argument that Bogaerts hits 5th because they don't really have better options. I mean, they don't have amazing options.
I don't really buy it.
Yeah, I mean, but Campusano has hit. Sanchez has hit.
Here's what I buy more of, and Kevin alluded to it a little bit. He didn't fully go there, but I will. Xander has always hit in the middle of the lineup for his entire career.
Right.
We know this year there was a issue of sorts with where guys batted in this lineup.
Right.
You have Bogaerts, who is one of those guys who has an issue with where he batted in this lineup. It's kind of like known, right? Like, hey, Xander wants to hit in a certain spot. He's not comfortable in hitting these other spots. Like we talk about, like, I'll link it to this. Before the show today, I said, I'll sit in your spot to get ready for the show, and you sit in my spot. And you freaked out.
Like, hell no.
And you're like, no, dude, I need to be in my spot, because if I'm not, I'm going to
the whole show's off.
Be completely off. The whole show's off.
Yes.
And that's how I'm linking it to this team.
I love that. I absolutely love that.
Now it's a little different because it's a team sport, and like you got to do what's best for the team. But it's kind of like that. Now, when you're making $280 million, like, and you're not producing, hey man, I have to do what's best for the team here. So I put it on. The reason why Bogaerts has not been dropped in this lineup, yeah, it might have a little bit to do with that he's not like the worst Padres hitter since the All-Star break, but I think it also has to do with ego.
Well, here's the thing. It's an amazing analogy, because here's the thing. When you and I do something, when you and I are doing a show together, I mean, you can, and there's dynamics at play because we're doing a show, but can you only imagine if it was a complexity of 25, 26 men, 5, 6, 7, 8 of which are making $10, $20, $30 million a year that have only succeeded. We weren't on WFAN in New York for 20 years, and then Sirius wooed us here.
And I'm going with like Colin, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's like that's not the situation that we're currently sitting in. Every single one of the Padres, all 26, not just the core, have all been ultra successful. And then it's like this combustible force of $250 million in payroll. Expectations are high. It's not working out. Am I supposed to be the team guy? Am I supposed to be the me guy? If I'm not the me guy, does it benefit the team? If I'm the team guy, can I still be me? Like, there's all these complexities at play. I mean, the point's an interesting one on Xander Bogaerts. I don't know if Bogaerts is literally telling Bob Melvin, don't move me down in the lineup or not. That isn't necessarily what I would think when I read Xander Bogaerts' post-game quotes. He seems to be more in the team camp than the me camp.
But there's a little bit of me there.
But there definitely is. And he's a 2-time champion, and he's getting $300 million. So that's a fair assessment.
And then the next thing that I think would be like the headliner, like if we were to post this, which I will, like you had earlier today, Dennis on with Darren, And he said, I want to quote him right
Yeah.
here. Hold on. So Dennis was on earlier with Darren, and he was asked pretty much the same question about Bob Melvin. He said it would be somewhat of a surprise if Bob Melvin is back next year. That's pretty much exactly what Kevin Acee said.
Exactly.
It's not just one person that thinks it.
Well,
It's two guys who are dialed in to this organization every single day. When you have one person say it, you're like, okay, I need to hear another person say it before, like, maybe I start. You hear Kevin and Dennis both say it. Now I feel like it's Bob Melvin's gone, and unless this thing is completely turned around and they make the postseason and have a little bit of a run here, maybe even if they do that, Bob's gone, because maybe Bob's like, I don't want to do this anymore, dude.
Well, look at it this way. I mean, we're not.
That is very significant.
Well, look at it this way, though. We're not reporters, but we do watch and cover each and every day.
Yeah.
And we have said for months that there's something about this dynamic right now with Bob Melvin and this organization and this team right now and the way they're playing that would lead you to believe that there is a scenario, and a pretty plausible one, where Bob Melvin isn't back. And we've been saying, and this is often NLCS, but he was, he called out his team. They didn't respond. He went about it different ways. They didn't respond. We've had Peter Seidler do the public backing of AJ Preller, but he hasn't done it of Bob Melvin. We had AJ Preller talk about this team, but he hasn't fully backed Bob Melvin. Like, the writing is on the wall with Melvin. And by the way, they have to make a decision. They can't wait on it. He either gets extended or let go or retires. He either gets extended or let go or retires. He does not return in 2024 without a new deal. No way, no chance in hell will he be back in 2024 without a new deal.
I feel like it's already a complete failure of a season. Now it is, but like, it's kind of like period, end of sentence failure here if Bob Melvin's gone. Does Bob Melvin have problems? Of course he does. Is he a perfect manager? No chance in hell. Nobody's a perfect manager. But Bob's the best manager they've had since Buddy Black. That's pretty easy to say. Bob Melvin is a guy that when he came here was pretty universally loved and said that this was the right guy.
Mm-hmm.
You come off of Jace Tingler, which was a disaster. You come off of Andy Green, which was a placeholder. You had sprinkled in there a Pat Murphy that didn't work. Bob Melvin, if you messed up with Bob Melvin, then you are the problem, not Bob.
Right. That's a great point.
And that is the whole thing here. Like, even Kevin said it too. He's like, if you get rid of another manager after Jace Tingler and Andy Green and then the experiment with Pat Murphy, you're like, okay, the common denominator here isn't the manager.
It's you.
It's you, AJ.
Yeah, it's the emperor has no clothes story.
Yep.
I mean, everyone's kind of looking at you like, hey, man, maybe it's you. It is you. And like Dennis Lynn wrote yesterday, by the way, it would be relatively unprecedented for any general manager, especially one without a World Series, to be hiring a fourth manager. On the other side, we are going to give away tickets to see Dierks Bentley at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater August 18th. More info at Ticketmaster.com. We're at Fairplay in North Park. Padres Diamondbacks kicking off a weekend series at 6:40. Plus, Jim's backpage still ahead. We'll get you ready for tonight. Stay with us on John and Jim. All right, with you until 6 p.m. Padres Diamondbacks 640. Fairplay is the place to kick off your weekend. Great food and drinks, centrally located in North Park, with the Padres game against the Diamondbacks on in about an hour. I did want to get to this off the text line, Jim, 619, because it's an interesting jumping off point on Bob Melvin that we just talked about with Kevin Acee, which is this. Who's better out there over Bo Mel that's currently available or wants to come here? It would be a mistake to lose him. They've tried everything. They went young. Now they've gone experience. It's like, what is that option out there that they haven't tried that's going to result in better results?
The only option out there that I can think of that I would be okay with to give it a try to see if it works is a guy that kind of lobbied to get this job back in 2021. That's Ron Washington. Now, I'm not advocating for them to fire Bob Melvin. I think it'd be a complete disaster if they did because of how bad it would look on A.J. Preller. And if they did that, then A.J. Preller deserves to be fired. But if they go that route, which it looks like they're going to go that route one way or the other, either Melvin walks and he says he's retiring, or they actually say that they're fired Bob Melvin. The only guy out there that I would be okay with would be a Ron Washington. That's the only guy I'd be okay with. Anybody else, I can't see it because I don't even think Ron Washington is better than Bob Melvin, even though Ron Washington has taken teams that he has managed to 2 World Series. I just am saying, hey, you want an option? That is the only person out there that I would consider as being equal to Bob Melvin, and it wouldn't be considered a downgrade in my mind.
Let me tell you why I don't see any chance of it happening. Couple things. He's 10 years older than Bob Melvin.
Okay.
He's 10 years older than Bob Melvin.
Yeah.
He has not managed in 10 years.
I know.
How much has the game changed?
A lot.
Mean, with everything. Now, he's coached.
He's the coach.
But he has not managed.
He's been part of the Braves for how long?
But you and I know.
I know.
There's
John.
a huge difference.
I know.
I think, because this is what typically happens. It's like you hire an offensive coach in football, then you hire a defensive coach. What was atypical is what Preller did with Green and Tingler. He went lack of experience. That's basically unheard of. He went lack of experience to really experience. I think he would go younger out again. I think he'd go more in touch with the clubhouse. I think he'd go more nouveau. I think he'd go more analytical. I know Melvin came from Oakland's organization. But, by the way, to your point and to my point, I don't think it's smart to the texters.
I don't either.
I mean, this is like we always say, like rearranging chairs in the Titanic. I mean, what are you really doing? Holding the manager accountable for the last 10 years of failure as opposed to just the guy who's been here for 10 years?
Yeah, I know.
So I just, the Ron Washington thing, I feel like that ship sailed a couple years ago. Mm-hmm. But the point is valid. I mean, he's an experienced guy that's managed in a World Series.
I'm just giving you like an option out there to answer the text line is like, who's better? And I'm not saying Ron Washington is better. And I don't want Bob Melvin to be fired, but it's clearly an issue. It feels like it's an issue. Dude, the day that Melvin was hired, and I've said it and we talked about it. Like one of the first things was, dude, how is he going to work with Preller? Like everybody said that. Everybody thought it. I think there was even questions to Bob about AJ Preller. I think even Darren asked Bob, like, "Hey, are you ready to get those 3 a.m. Text messages from AJ Preller?" And he might have said, like, "Yeah, no, my phone will be off." Something to that extent. I don't know. I'm paraphrasing, but I know those questions were asked, like, "Hey, are you ready to work with AJ Preller?" And this shows if they let go of Melvin. Who, to me, the main problem is. It's like yesterday when we got the quote from Juan Soto, like confirming our worst fears. If they let go of Bob Melvin, that is only confirming more who and what the issue is with this organization.
Right, more of an indictment on the organization than Melvin himself,
right,
if the organization makes that change. What about the idea that they need someone that's more relatable to the clubhouse? Fernando Tatis Sr.
Dude,
like in the chat, Benji Gill,
I'm
managed
sick
Mexico's WBC team.
I'm sick and tired of this roster being catered to like their little kids.
Right. You have to. Yeah, it's a good point.
Like, give me a break, dude. Bob Melvin is one of the most respected guys in the big leagues, and it didn't work here. Why? And he's probably going to be let go. Why? Like, give me a break, dude. If that's the problem, then get these guys out of town.
But that's
Sick
not
of
going to
it.
happen.
I know it won't, but I'm sick of it. Like, that shouldn't be. Like, it should not be, hey, we need to cater to these players' every needs. Like, give me a break, dude. You're professional.
Why do we always have to go out and get, we're looking for a manager, not someone that's going to be their friend. If you go back and look at like some of the great managers like Joe Torre and those guys, they weren't their friends. They were kind of, they were pretty much kind of jerks, but that's why it worked. Because when they said something, the players listened to them because they looked at him as a manager, not as, oh, there's Uncle Joe. He's just going to have our back no matter what and let us do whatever we want. He was somewhat of an authority figure, so they listened to him.
What's interesting is Melvin actually has a rep of being a player's manager.
And by all accounts, he has the backing of these players. Like, we have not seen one time this year where there was an anonymous quote or reporting of the players losing faith in Bob Melvin. We saw that a lot with Jay Stingler. Haven't seen it all from Bob Melvin, and yet he's going to get released or fired.
Well, here's the thing.
What?
Here's the thing. And while it may be mutual, like, I don't know if he wants to be here either.
That's the point. That's exactly
that's not a good indicator on the organization either.
Right. It's
but
like, put your out of your misery.
Maybe he is willing to say, you know what, I'm ready to move to another spot, maybe take a year off, come back. I don't think he's done. There's veteran managers across
How old
baseball.
Is he?
61, 62.
Dude, Bochy's older than him.
Dusty Baker.
Baker's obviously older than him.
But that doesn't. I mean, not everyone's the same. So we'll see. I mean, I do think he'll manage again.
61.
I wouldn't be surprised if he just said, you know what, this ain't for me. This team right now, this organization, right? So, and by the way they phrased the press release, maybe it matters. Maybe it's, hey, Bob Melvin is stepping away. And after 2 years as Padres manager, Bob Melvin is elected to retire.
And there's not been any backing from Peter and from AJ to the extent of hey, he's coming back for sure next year. None. It was all like, well, it's just a job. And then when Peter talks about AJ, it's like, oh my God, this guy's the greatest thing I've ever seen in my entire life in baseball history. Give me a break.
Right. No, it's a fair point. All right, here's what we're going to do. Right now, caller 7, you've got 2 free tickets to see Dierks Bentley at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. This is August 18th. The number to call, 844-570-1360. 2 free tickets, Dierks Bentley, North Island Credit Union Amphitheater, August 18th. Call right now, caller 7. You've got 2 free tickets, 844-570-1360. More info at Ticketmaster.com. We continue from Fairplay in North Park until 6 o'clock. Kick off your weekend with us here. Jim's Back Page is next. All right, a reminder, we'll be out at Snapdragon Stadium tomorrow from 4 to 6. Fan Fest, 6 p.m. We'll be on the air. Brady Hoke is going to join us at 4:30. Derek Grice from San Diego State's Athletics Department will join us as well in the 5 o'clock hour. So we'll have guests for you. Jared Tolver will join us, the Aztec for Life. So
Perfect.
join us 4 to 6 tomorrow, Snapdragon Stadium scrimmage at 6 o'clock.
Love
and looking forward to it. We'll be out there for a couple
I always
hours.
love going to Snapdragon. It just feels nice. Like it feels right. It feels like a home.
It is. It's easy in, it's easy out. It's the right size. I'm with you.
Now, will will concession stands be open tomorrow?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure. With it being Fan Fest, yeah. What are you going to pick up?
I think I'm going to pick up like a pulled pork sandwich.
Now, I hope Everbowl is open so I can get
a
acai bowl.
Pulled pork sandwich and then a peach cobbler.
They have a peach cobbler there?
Oh, my God. It's so good. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. So
or taco stand, maybe that as well. There's delicious food there. Great food.
Again, free tickets, go Aztecs.com. Fan Fest tomorrow at 6. A scrimmage inside Snapdragon Stadium will broadcast from 4 to 6. Right now, let's get to this.
So you watched Barbie. I've seen Barbie.
Yes, we've both seen it.
Brent has not seen Barbie.
No.
But spoiler alert, there's a scene in the movie revolved around Margot Robbie, who has played Barbie, her feet.
Yep.
Her feet become flat. Barbie's feet are always
in
heel position. And that kind of is the start of the journey of the Barbie movie. Well, a website, Feet Finder, John?
Feet Finder.
Feet Finder. I'm pretty sure that's like a porn site, but for just like feet.
It's just a direct link into Quentin Tarantino's house.
What? Okay, so
he has a foot thing, John. That's what it is.
Okay,
it's a foot fetish site. All right,
interesting.
Feet Finder has offered Margot Robbie $250,000 to make an account to sell feet pics.
Yeah, she's probably not going to do that because she can make a lot more just doing what she's doing currently.
Yeah, I don't think $250,000 to Margot Robbie is going to entice her to sell feet pics.
Yeah, I don't know if she would do it for $250 million.
She doesn't need the money,
right?
I think she's good to go.
Definitely good to go.
But yeah, they tried. Hey, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yeah, that's true.
So if you're Feet Finder, that website, you might as well just say, hey, here's my long shot from the moon. Will you sell feet pics for us for $250K?
What if she's like, yeah, sure.
Dude, that'd be amazing. That would be absolutely amazing. iPhone.
Yeah, I have one.
I do too. I think everyone does. Mm-hmm. Coming up in September, they usually do like their iPhone yearly launch.
Right.
It's like the new iPhone either updates or they release a brand new iPhone out. Well, iPhone is releasing a new software upcoming that will change the position of the end call button.
Yeah, I know everyone's talking about this.
When you are making a call.
Right.
So it will now be in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen.
Right.
Instead of in the middle of your screen.
That red big circle. And now the middle is going to be like FaceTime or something?
It's going to be like a keypad.
Okay.
I believe.
All right.
So why they're doing this, I don't know.
Yeah, what's the deal? It wasn't broken.
What's not broke, don't fix it.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with this. And button was the bottom right instead of the middle of the screen.
Yeah, that's weird to me. The one thing I would say about the end call button is sometimes when you have the phone on your face, do people maybe end the call? Like if you're holding your phone.
No, because why? You're not holding your phone like this with your finger over the middle of the screen. You're holding your phone with your thumb on the side and your other fingers on the other side.
Okay.
And you can put the phone up to your. I'm not hitting myself.
I don't know.
You can put the phone up to your face and it won't do anything.
Okay. So what? There's no real reason. They're just doing it just to be cute.
Yeah, I don't get it, man. That's the thing with iPhone and Apple. They've come such a long way that's like, okay, what everyone wants to know what's next. And they don't have this like super crazy invention like back in the day with FaceTime and
guys, you know what it is. They've run out of new features. So they're like, oh God, we can't just roll up there and just go, here's the new phone with nothing new on it. And just like, we'll just switch some button layouts around and they'll be new and innovative.
Like, ooh, new button layout. Cool. Speaking of iPhone, by the way, have you updated your iPhone recently? Like the apps on your iPhone?
Do I need
Yes.
to? The apps?
The apps.
No,
I do
I
that
still
like
do it.
every day.
You update the apps?
Yeah.
A lot of people do.
I haven't.
Why you want to keep
Dude,
Twitter?
my old roommate didn't update her stuff for like 2 years.
Well, I won't update anything. Well, not anything. I won't update specifically the Twitter app because if you update the Twitter app, it changes to the new X logo. And if you don't update it, it still stays at the old Twitter logo.
But at some point, you're going to have to upgrade.
I'll never upgrade until they like literally shut down the app and make me do
you
it.
need to upgrade, then you will. So you really are anti-X.
I am really anti-X.
Wow.
And finally, Brent, you told me about this story yesterday. It's now making the back page today. Dunkin' Donuts is teasing a line of spiked iced coffees called Dunkin' Spiked. So if you want your morning coffee spiked with some type of alcohol, they are looking to do this in the future.
Well,
it wasn't just coffee; it was iced tea and all their other drinks.
Dunkin' is brewing up something special for adult iced coffee and iced tea lovers to spike your coffee or iced tea with alcohol.
Is there a big audience for that? Like before work, let me go drink.
I would try the
Probably
spiked
not.
coffee. I don't know about the iced tea, but I'd
Let's
try
just
the
get
coffee.
drunk and do the show.
I had a kombucha today. All right, join
didn't.
us tonight. We'll have a wrap-up show for you on YouTube. Join us tomorrow from Snapdragon Stadium from Aztec Fan Fest. We'll be broadcasting live from 4 to 6. If you missed anything today, sportsSD.com, iHeartRadio app, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, or YouTube. Follow us on social media at John and Jim, JONANDJIM. Back Monday at 3, tomorrow from Snapdragon Stadium at 4. Until then, for Brent and Jim, I'm John. It's the all-new San Diego Sports 760. Okay.